Hello and welcome aboard. The carriage is warm and the rain has begun its soft rhythm against the window. Our journey through the quiet of the night is ready to begin. Find your comfortable place to rest. Settle in and let the steady sound of the rails carry you away from the noise of the day. There is nothing else you need to do now. Just breathe and let the story unfold. The carriage lights are dim enough to make every reflection soft, like candle flames seen through frosted glass. I sit by the window, forehead resting against the cool pane, and the gentle rain sketches fleeting constellations on the glass. Each droplet draws a slow path, meets another, then drifts out of sight, leaving thin silver trails that vanish as quickly as they bloom. Outside, fields spread wide and dark beneath a veil of mist. A lone farmhouse glows in the distance, the shape of its roof muted by the night. The train hum merges with the steady percussion of wheels against track, that deep, even heartbeat I have come to rely on. It reminds me of lullabies my mother sang when I was too young to understand the words but old enough to feel steadied by the melody. A small station slides by, platforms empty except for a single lamppost casting pale amber over wet concrete. I imagine a caretaker in a wool coat, sipping tea from a chipped mug, waiting for dawn. Perhaps no one will step off here tonight, yet the station waits with quiet dignity, like an old friend who keeps the porch light on just in case. A sleeping passenger across the aisle shifts beneath a wool blanket, face softened by dreams. I wonder where their journey began, what tender thought last crossed their mind before sleep claimed them. Maybe they were remembering a seaside holiday, the taste of salt on their lips and the excitement of a first swim. Maybe they were simply counting breaths, surrendering to the rhythm of the rails. The train eases through a gentle curve, slowing almost imperceptibly. My reflection wavers in the glass, mingling with the countryside. For a moment I see myself superimposed on a moonlit meadow, as though I have stepped beyond the carriage and into the open air. Time feels thinner out here, stretched like silk between two fingertips. The past slips backward, the future edges forward, and everything settles into a still, forgiving present. I find myself thinking of an old friend I have not seen for years. We once shared plans beneath a summer sky, promising to cross entire oceans together. Life, in its quiet, stubborn way, drifted us onto different tracks. Yet a certain song still echoes when rain hits corrugated roofs, and I picture her laughing, pushing damp hair from her eyes. Regret rises, gentle but insistent, like steam from a late-night cup of tea. I let it float, then release it into the shadows where it can soften. Another droplet slides down the window. I follow its descent the way children trace shooting stars. It pauses, gathers weight, then glides on, always forward, never back. There is a lesson there in how water finds its path without apology. I breathe deeply as though the night air itself has seeped through the glass, cool and earthy, scented with rain-damp soil. The carriage door opens with a hushed click. A conductor walks through, shoes quiet on the carpeted aisle. He nods to me, eyes kind but distant, carrying the practiced calm of someone who spends every night guiding strangers home. When he has passed, the door slides shut, and the hush deepens as though the train has settled under a thick blanket. Mist gathers thicker over the fields. Trees stand like silhouettes, branches lifted in silent conversation with the sky. Somewhere among them an owl might be waking, turning its head to listen for the scuttle of mice. The world out there is alive in its own gentle way, and I am merely passing through, an observer with a window frame for a stage. I remember a childhood story about a night train carrying wishes wrapped in silver paper. Each wish waited patiently until it reached a sleeper whose dream could hold it. Tonight, I fancy the idea that scraps of hope float through this carriage, looking for resting places. Perhaps the man in seat 12 will open his eyes at dawn feeling lighter, not knowing why. Perhaps I will wake with a small, wordless courage lodged beneath my ribs. A soft announcement murmurs through the speakers, barely audible beneath the hum. We will not reach the next town for some time, it says, so settle in, rest easy. I close my eyes, letting the words ripple through me, slow as drifting pollen. My breathing matches the cadence of the wheels. Hush, 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 like waves that never break. Across the aisle, the sleeper sighs and settles deeper. Rain falls a little harder, tracing new patterns that intersect and fade. My eyelids grow heavy, yet my thoughts stay tender and warm as if wrapped in wool. I picture the distant farmhouse again, the glow in its window. Perhaps someone inside is writing a letter, pausing now and then to listen to the rain, unaware that a passing stranger sees their light and feels less alone. Memory drifts further back to a childhood ride with my father. I recall leaning against him, tiny fingers curled around his coat sleeve. He told me the secret of trains, that they carry not just passengers but stories, and those stories mingle like threads in a loom, weaving a blanket so vast we all find warmth in it. I did not grasp his meaning then, but tonight, traveling through miles of sleeping countryside, I understand. The train glides on, softer, slower. My thoughts move like lanterns set upon a calm river, each one floating gently away. Regrets dim, hopes flicker, and a wide, hush-colored peace spreads within me. I surrender to the motion, to the soothing dark, to the tender sound of rain on glass. Soon, the world outside becomes a blur of silver and charcoal. The hum of the tracks slips into the rhythm of my pulse. In this small, moving room, I feel suspended between places, held by something vast and mild. I let my eyes close. The carriage rocks me like a cradle. Night draws its cool curtains and sleep, patient as the next station light, waits just ahead, ready to open its quiet door. The rain begins as a hush, almost shy against the window, then settles into a steady rhythm that seems to breathe with the train itself. I close my book, letting the thin ribbon mark my place, and watch water beads gather at the glass edges like little hesitant travelers deciding whether to leap. Beyond the pane, the countryside is a charcoal watercolor, fields merging with sky, hedgerows dissolving into mist. I feel cocooned in this moving room, carried gently forward through ink-dark miles. A bell chimes down the corridor, soft and distant, announcing nothing urgent, just the quiet reassurance that the night continues unbroken. The carriage sways and I lean back, feeling the subtle pull of gravity as we round a curve. Somewhere farther up the train, a kettle whistles. The faint scent of chamomile drifts by, blending with the metallic tang of rain-damp air. 2 rows ahead, an elderly woman lifts her cup, steam wreathing her face like pale silk. She folds her hands, closes her eyes, and for a moment seems to drift decades backward, as though tasting a memory more than a drink. We pass a siding where a freight train rests under sodium lamps. The cars stand silent, each one painted with rusted stories. I imagine a lone engineer sitting in a narrow cab, boots on the console, waiting for a signal that will not come until dawn. Perhaps he hums a lullaby learned from his grandmother, a tune about rivers and safe harbors. Music travels in such invisible loops. It leaves one mouth, enters another heart, then resurfaces years later, surprising even itself. An announcement murmurs overhead. Our next stop lies 40 minutes ahead, though no one stirs. Most of the passengers have drifted into sleep or something close to it. The man across from me wears earphones, lips parted just enough that a small snore escapes every so often. His briefcase is propped between his shoes, clasp still fastened. I wonder if inside lies a stack of documents that troubled him all evening, numbers or deadlines that gnawed like restless birds. Now, rocked by the rails, those worries loosen, dissolving into the hush. My reflection returns on the dark glass, ghost-lit by the carriage lights. I trace the outline of my face with my eyes, noticing how tired lines soften when the world outside offers no sharp edges. I think of my sister, who once told me that nighttime trains feel like corridors between chapters. You step aboard, she said, and the past is page-turning behind you, the future waiting in fresh ink, all while you float in a narrow margin of calm. She was right. Here, moving yet still, I sense the gap widening between what was and what might be, granting space for unspoken thoughts to stretch. A small station glides into view, platforms shining in rain. No one boards, no one exits. Yet the lights are kept bright, benches scrubbed clean, as if every evening is a promise even when no one arrives. I find comfort in that devotion. It reminds me of a friend who kept a guest room ready year-round, linens washed, flowers refreshed, though visitors were rare. Hospitality, she said, is more a state of heart than of circumstance. The station keeper must believe the same. The train eases forward again, leaving the platform to its silence. I close my eyes and listen to the wheels singing their low metal lullaby. The song is simple, ever forward, never hurried. I breathe to its cadence, counting 4 slow inhales for slower exhales, until thoughts thin to sheer cloth. In that openness, old recollections drift up. A summer fair, cotton candy bright as sunset. A winter morning when snow muffled every sound so completely I felt alone with my heartbeat. Each memory glows, then fades, like station lamps receding into rain. Somewhere near the rear, a child murmurs in sleep. Her mother adjusts a knitted hat over tiny ears, then settles back, pressing a kiss to the crown of the child's head. The mother's eyes hold that gentle fatigue common to all caretakers, sharp enough to stir if needed, soft enough to savor the peace while it lasts. I picture the child dreaming of endless corridors of candy stalls or maybe of wide meadows stitched with puddles that never soak through boots. We cross a river. The bridge clicks beneath us in short, polite bursts. Moonlight, diffused by cloud, lays a smear of silver across the water. I press my forehead to the glass, hoping the cool temperature will anchor me in the moment. Rivers always remind me of letters I never sent, thoughts that flowed but never reached the far bank. I vow, quietly, to write one of them tomorrow, even if only to fold it away in a drawer. Intent can be its own arrival. The hum deepens as the locomotive throttles down a grade. Our speed lessens almost imperceptibly. Shadows inside the coach grow longer, stretching across the aisle like cats seeking warmth. A faint click above my seat marks the air vent closing, and the silence swells, plush as velvet. I find myself counting my blessings without effort. The steady roof overhead, the kindness of strangers who will likely remain nameless, the simple miracle of movement through night spaces that feel both infinite and safe. One more raindrop traces the glass, splitting into 2 smaller beads before slipping away. They look to me like twin decisions, perhaps regret and hope, parting but still related by origin. I breathe their journey in, breathing out any tightness left in my chest. My shoulders drop. My thoughts quiet. Another announcement floats down, softer than before, asking only that we rest well. Words so gentle they feel like a blanket pulled to the chin. I let them settle over me. Outside, a distant barn lamp flickers past, then vanishes. Inside, the carriage glow feels warmer by contrast. The tea-scented air fades, replaced by something cool, almost pine-tinged, perhaps carried in from a logging town we passed earlier. My eyelids grow heavy, each blink longer than the last. I picture invisible threads connecting every sleeping passenger, a web of dreams spanning seat backs and luggage racks, anchored in the steady rhythm of wheels. In that fabric, my own quiet story finds a place, not grand, not small, simply present. The train sighs through another gentle curve. I lean fully into the seat, surrendering the last of my weight. Words drift away, only the hush remains. Rain, rails, breath. 3 notes repeating until thought loosens, curls, and dims. I let the countryside rock me, trust the rails to hold me, trust the night to keep moving forward. Sleep edges closer, unhurried, inevitable as the next low station light appearing, glowing and gliding softly into the past. The carriage glows with a muted amber light, soft enough to let shadows linger in the corners. I settle deeper into my seat, coat draped across my lap like a familiar hush. Beyond the glass, the countryside emerges and recedes, bathed in a faint silver that drifts from a half-hidden moon. Rainfall is lighter now, almost a whispered percussion, each droplet tapping a delicate, unhurried rhythm. We cross a field where mist hangs low, hugging the earth the way a lover presses a quiet promise against a shoulder. The wheels hum beneath me, not urgent, not weary, just steady, a musical line stretching on without need for climax. Somewhere behind, I hear a zipper close, a gentle rustle, the sigh of a traveler settling in for the long miles still ahead. A lone signal lamp flashes green, momentarily painting the raindrops emerald. I think of stoplights in small towns, those sleepy intersections where nothing moves after dark except the blinking reassurance that someone, somewhere, has thought to keep watch. It reminds me of my grandfather's porch light, left on every night, even long after his children scattered to cities. When I asked him why, he said, "Hope is a habit. You practice it or you lose it." We slipped past an orchard, rows of bare trees standing like careful sentences set out in even lines. I imagine the fruit they once carried, round and fragrant, now only memory held in the soil. Seasons, like chapters, turn without consultation, and yet the land accepts each one with grace. I trace a circle on the fogged glass, then watch it fade, leaving no mark of my presence. So many moments in life are like that, soft impressions gone before we name them. Across the aisle, a young man journals beneath the dim reading light. His handwriting slopes gently as though aware it is being lulled by the rails. Occasionally he pauses, tapping the pen against his lower lip. I wonder what quiet storms he's navigating, or what fragile dream he tucks between sentences. Perhaps he writes to a future self who will need reminding that tonight existed. This calm, this subtle permission to breathe. The train slows as we approach a bridge. Water shimmers below, a long liquid ribbon reflecting dappled moonlight. I glimpse my reflection upon the river's skin, blurred, doubled, then it's gone as we roll onward. I remember a childhood summer when I tossed pebbles into a pond, watching ripples race to the shore. Even then I sensed that actions spread wider than their point of entry, though I lacked words to say so. Now older, I watch every small kindness the same way, trusting the circles even when I can't trace them. An overhead speaker murmurs a temperature update, cooling fast, 5 degrees and falling. A few passengers tug blankets higher. The woman 2 seats down pulls a knitted cap over graying curls, the yarn a bright violet that glows softly under the carriage light. She clutches a paper-wrapped bouquet, faint lilac scent drifts across the aisle. I imagine she's carrying flowers to a grave or to a doorbell she hasn't rung in years, both acts rooted in the same soil of remembrance. Fields give way to patchwork wetlands, reeds swaying under the drizzle. The train's reflection schemes the flooded ground like a ghost of itself. Somewhere in that reflective world, I picture alternate versions of all of us, silent companions gliding alongside, sharing the journey in mirrored stillness. 2 realities keeping pace, neither intruding on the other. It comforts me, the idea that my quieter self is out there, matching my breath with perfect gentleness. A small laugh bubbles from the row behind, soft, surprised, then hushed. A couple murmurs about an inside joke. "Do you think the cows complain about night shifts?" the woman whispers. I catch only fragments, but their warmth lingers. Love, even in whispers, carries farther on a train. The rails seem to amplify tenderness, sending it down the line like a candle passed hand to hand. We glide through another station, this one tucked among evergreens. The platform clock reads 2:07. No footsteps echo, only rain dots the metal roof, sounding like distant typing. I lean closer to the window until my breath forms a cloud on the glass, then trace a small heart, an impulse as fleeting as fog. By the time the station drifts out of sight, the drawing is gone, but the gesture stays with me, an invisible keepsake. The rhythm of the wheels slows, the pitch settling half a note lower, encouraging eyelids to descend. I think of a snow globe gently shaken, once turbulent flakes now settling into soft drifts over miniature streets. My thoughts, once swirling with deadlines and unanswered messages, begin to fall in slow, peaceful spirals. In that lull, an old song surfaces, one I haven't heard in years. My mother used to hum it on winter evenings, knitting by the radio. The melody has no lyrics, just a rise and fall that sounds like longing made gentle. Without realizing, I hum along, barely audible. The man with the journal pauses, looks up, smiles in recognition, then returns to his page. Even silent exchanges carry weight tonight, small lanterns lit and passed onward. Mist thickens, and the landscape outside becomes suggestion rather than form. Trees blur into charcoal smudges. Fences dissolve into gray lines. We ride inside a moving sketch. I close my eyes, letting the absence of detail sharpen inner pictures. A seaside dawn, warm sand beneath bare feet. A library smell of paper and dust. The first time someone held my hand like a secret. The conductor walks through once more, steps feather light. He checks tickets with a nod, then points to a sign that reads, "Rest well, arrival still afar." I exhale, feeling permission settle like a quilt. The carriage light dims another shade, shadows deepen kindly. I lean my head to the window, listening as rain shifts from tap to patter, softer still. Thoughts drift, untethered, each one lighter than the last. Regret loosens, hope stretches, and somewhere between those two, acceptance settles. A quiet guest choosing the middle seat. The hum below slows again, and almost lullaby now. I picture the countryside inhaling, exhaling under the moon, each breath a promise that morning will come exactly when it should, no sooner, no later. I match its pace, letting time unspool. Sleep edges close, gentle-footed, carrying the scent of lilac and damp earth. I allow it to sit beside me. Outside, the rain keeps its small, steady conversations with the dark. Inside, the world grows tender, spacious. One final breath, slow as the passing clouds, and I drift where words are unnecessary, rocked by the patient hum of tracks leading everywhere and nowhere at all. Rain lingers on the window in thin diagonal lines, a quiet lattice that blurs everything beyond into soft watercolor. I sit alone on this late-night carriage, coat collar turned up, steam from my travel mug curling like faint handwriting in the dim light. The train's low hum is steady, a pulse beneath my thoughts, guiding them forward in unhurried loops. Outside, hedgerows unravel along the track, rows of dark stitching on a pale, moon-washed fabric. The countryside here feels both vast and intimate, as though each hill leans in to share a secret only midnight understands. A fox darts across a distant field, quick as a skipped heartbeat, then the rain veil hides it again, leaving only memory to fill the space. We approach a level crossing. Red lights blink their gentle warning though no cars wait. The barriers shine under the drizzle, solemn guardians of a road that sleeps. I think of small rituals kept even when no eyes witness them, traditions carried forward simply because they mattered once and might matter again. It comforts me, this persistence. With a hiss, we glide past an abandoned siding. Boxcars rust quietly under overgrown thistle, their lettering peeling like old postcards. I imagine voices once echoing inside, laughter over stacked crates, a harmonica drifting through open doors. Now those echoes belong to mice and wind, yet the stories linger, printed on the wood like faint charcoal sketches. A couple sits 2 rows ahead, silhouettes leaning shoulder to shoulder. Their breaths fog the shared window, merging into one cloud. They speak in whispers, sentences punctuated by long pauses that feel full rather than empty. Love at this hour seems to require fewer words, relying instead on rhythm, 2 pulses syncing with the train's deeper bass. The conductor strolls by, soft-soled shoes barely audible. He nods and tips an invisible hat, then continues, his lantern-bright tablet flickering over slumbering faces. There is something priest-like about his passage, a quiet blessing bestowed seat by seat, assuring everyone they are seen even while asleep. We round a gentle bend, and a lake opens beside us, smooth as obsidian. Raindrops stipple its surface, tiny vanishing worlds. The reflection of the half-moon quivers, breaks, reforms, like nostalgia, never whole yet always recognizable. I remember a night much younger, skipping stones across water with someone I thought I would know forever. The stones sank, the friendship drifted, but the ripple still glows somewhere inside. An overhead announcement hums through the speaker, voice low, almost drowsy itself. Next stop, Farwell Crossing. 20 minutes. The name feels symbolic, a station built purely for goodbyes. I picture wooden benches polished by countless waiting moments, suitcases scuffed by distance. Perhaps tonight no one will disembark, yet the platform lamp will burn on, steady as an oath. I take a sip of cooling tea, chamomile with a twist of honey, and let its warmth settle under my ribs. The fragrance mingles with faint hints of cabin upholstery, a scent that always suggests journeys rather than destinations. Journeys allow unfinished thoughts, loose ends, hopeful plans, a rare kind of breathing space. The rain quickens, tiny hands drumming softly. My reflection appears again on the glass, framed by droplets. I look older than I feel, or perhaps simply more honest. Lines at the corners of my eyes resemble the branching rivers we just crossed. They map where laughter and sorrow have traveled, tributaries feeding into the present moment. I find I do not mind them. They are cartography of having lived. A sleeping boy across the aisle stirs. A plush owl slips from his lap, landing with a muffled thud. Before I can move, his mother retrieves it, smoothing imaginary ruffled feathers. She kisses the toy's fabric head, then tucks it back beneath her son's arm. Such small tenderness, invisible to most, yet colossal in its quiet gravity. The train eases, its engine throttling down for a stretch of gentle grade. The silence grows wider, padded by the constant, soothing click of wheels. I inhale slowly, count of 4, exhale even slower. Each breath feels like folding a blanket, smoothing the corners of restless thought. We pass a row of poplar trees swaying in synchronized arcs. Their pale trunks flash in the carriage light like metronome beats, marking time that belongs only to this night. I think of all the clocks I have watched anxiously, then realize none of them mattered half as much as this soft, unmeasured now. A memory arrives, unannounced. Sitting on a rooftop with my brother one August evening, both of us certain the stars were speaking if we could only decipher the code. We never cracked it, yet the search felt holy. Tonight the code seems simpler: steady rain, low hum, slow heart. Perhaps understanding has less to do with answers, more with surrender. Ahead, the darkness parts to reveal Farwell Crossing. Its sign tilts slightly, letters worn but legible. A single bench cradles a lone figure wrapped in a yellow raincoat. As we glide by without stopping, she lifts a thermos in a silent toast to our passing. For a heartbeat I want to wave, but the moment slips, gentle as breath on glass, and she is gone behind us. The cabin lights dim another notch, casting everything in amber hush. Pages of an open paperback flutter on a nearby seat, as though the story inside sighs, ready to rest. I close my eyes, letting the gentle sway become a cradle. Thoughts dissolve into softer shapes, half-remembered lullabies, distant shorelines, letters never sent yet somehow received. Rain softens again, now a mere brush of silk. The wheels slow their song, dropping to a tempo that coaxes even stubborn minds toward dreaming. In the hush, I draft a promise to morning, to greet it with the same patience this night has shown me, to carry forward the calm geometry of passing fields and silent stations. Sleep hovers at the edges, kind and inevitable. I loosen my grip on the mug, nestle it in the cup holder, and lean fully into the seat. Outside, hedgerows fade into an ink-gray blur. Inside, my heartbeat finds the train's rhythm, two notes sharing one quiet melody. The world narrows to breath, rain, and motion. Words thin to single syllables, yes, rest, home, until even they float away. I surrender to the gentle sway, the soft geometry, the warm hush, and allow the countryside to carry me deeper into its moonlit, whispering dream. The carriage settles into a hush so deep I can hear my own breath brushing the silence. Rain traces faint threads across the window, stitching outside and inside together with silver filament. The glass fogs with each exhale, then clears again, like a slow conversation between body and night. We pass a pasture where dark shapes, cows perhaps, stand motionless, cloaked in mist thick as wool. Their stillness feels devotional, a gentle prayer offered to the dim stars hidden behind clouds. Wheels hum beneath me, steady and muted, an old lullaby that remembers every mile already traveled. A digital clock above the door flickers 2:44, its numbers soft red, pulsing like a distant lighthouse. Time moves differently out here. Part river, part smoke, unable to keep one shape for long. I loosen my scarf, letting the wool rest against my knees, breathing in the faint scent of cedar. Across the aisle, a man with salt and pepper hair studies a weathered map, eyes half closed. His finger traces routes no longer printed bold, searching for a town whose name has faded to ghost ink. Maybe he is planning a return, or simply reminding himself that roads exist beyond worry. Further down, a pair of teenage sisters share earbuds, heads tipped together like parentheses. They mouth silent lyrics, shoulders swaying in near sleep, their laughter stored for tomorrow's sunrise. I picture them years ahead, remembering this ride as the night everything felt possible and safe. The conductor appears, soft-footed, coat buttoned high against imagined drafts. He checks tickets with a discreet nod, then pauses to adjust a sleeping passenger's dropped blanket. Kindness at this hour arrives without announcement, small and bright as a match struck in darkness. The train slows near a crossing where willow trees dip like dancers curtsying to an unseen audience. Their branches tap the wind, releasing droplets that glimmer under the carriage lights. I think of letters I never sent, words hanging like those branches, heavy with unspoken water. We roll past an unlit station, platform slick and empty, vending machine humming to no one. Yet the schedule board still flips its cards, dutiful, as though belief alone keeps the mechanism alive. Hope can be mechanical, I realize, steady, repetitive, unwavering even when unmet. I sip lukewarm chamomile, sweetness of honey lingering on my tongue like a final, kind word. Steam fogs my glasses. I remove them, let the world blur until edges feel harmless and soft. Somewhere behind me, pages turn slowly, someone rereading a paragraph they cannot let go of. The rain eases, shifting from patter to whisper, as if clouds are tiring of conversation. Outside, a river unfurls beside the track, catching moonlight in fractured silver ribbons. I remember skipping stones with my father, each splash a sentence we never fully translated. The hum beneath deepens, engine taking on a lower register, coaxing eyelids to half-mast. I match my breathing to the cadence, in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, letting thoughts glide. Regrets loosen first, then stray plans, then even anticipation, until only presence remains feather-light. A young woman in the seat ahead stirs, scribbles a final line in a leather journal, then caps her pen. The pen clicks like a closing door, sealing her secrets for another night's revisiting. She leans back, hands folded, expression soft as candle wax warmed by memory. Fields widen again, open palms accepting rain. Scarecrows stand sentinel, coats flapping gently, silent guardians keeping watch so farmers can dream. The sight reminds me that rest is an act of trust, letting another presence, even straw and twine, keep vigil. Speakers murmur, next stop, Vale's End, 15 minutes. I taste the name, more poem than place, and imagine ivy-covered cottages blinking awake at dawn. Perhaps somewhere there a baker preheats an oven, unaware a stranger on a train is grateful for that promise of bread. The sisters remove their earbuds, drifting into sleep identical as mirrored swans. The map-holding traveler folds his chart, tucks it into a coat pocket with reverent care. We are all setting something aside now, preparing space for dreams to unfold their quiet banners. I rest my forehead to the cool pane, letting the vibration travel through bone, calming the last restless corner within. Rain resumes, softer still, like fingertips brushing piano keys in a room lit only by memory. Each droplet becomes a note, each note a step farther from waking worry. Clouds part briefly. Moonlight floods the compartment, silvering armrests, eyelashes, forgotten coffee lids. The scene feels underwater, time floating slower, my pulse matching distant surf I can almost hear. I close my eyes, keep them closed, watch inner landscapes bloom in muted color, lavender fields, quiet harbors, simple doors opening. The train rounds one final curve before Vale's End. The engine sighs as though it too longs for rest. I imagine we will stop only long enough to take a breath, then continue because journeys like these prefer continuity over arrival. Still, the promise of a lit platform ahead feels like a hand extended in darkness. Sleep leans closer, familiar and unhurried, pressing cool palms over my thoughts. I let names blur, places blur, even the gentle faces around me blur into soft mosaic. Only the rhythm remains, rails, rain, heart, three steady drums layering piece upon piece. As the lamps of Vale's End appear, glowing amber through mist, my consciousness drifts like smoke rising from a snuffed candle. I surrender the weight of observation, let it slide to the floor with my empty cup. Night folds itself around me, warm, forgiving, infinite as the quiet echo between the rails and the rain. The rain is gentler now, more drizzle than storm, a feather-light tapping that keeps time with the rails. I sit half-turned toward the window, watching droplets merge and wander, never hurried, always certain of their path. Outside, the land rolls by in charcoal layers, hedges and hills fading into one another like brushstrokes washed with water. A signal post flashes green in the dark, then vanishes behind us before my eyes can fully adjust. That tiny burst of color lingers in my mind, a reminder that even in thick night someone is guiding the way. I breathe a little easier, as though the lamp were lit just for this carriage, just for this moment of quiet faith. Across the aisle a woman dozes, her head cushioned by a knitted scarf the color of late roses. Beside her, a violin case rests upright, handle looped loosely around her wrist as if the music itself refuses to let go. I imagine the soft notes she might play tomorrow, lilting melodies drifting through a village square, coins glimmering in the open case like captured stars. The train eases through a shallow cutting, walls of damp stone close on either side. Moss gleams under the carriage lights, a living velvet that drinks the rain and keeps its secrets. For a moment the world feels narrowed to this tunnel of green and gray, a brief cocoon where time pauses its forward march. When the cutting opens, fields appear once more, dotted with sheep that look like pale constellations fallen to earth. They barely stir, trusting the night air to guard them, trusting the farmer's distant house where one upstairs lamp still glows. I picture someone there reading in bed, turning pages slowly, perhaps sensing the faint hum of our passing but not quite naming it. A soft chime sounds overhead, the speaker crackling with a hushed announcement. Next stop, Merrow's Gate, 15 minutes. No one moves. The name drifts through the carriage like a leaf on water, circling once before settling. Merrow's Gate, how many arrivals, how many farewells have echoed across its short platform? My thoughts slide toward memory as they often do on these late rides. I recall a winter evening years ago, waiting at a snowy station for someone who never stepped off the train. The cold bit hard, but the disappointment was gentle, almost polite, as though the night itself had tried to soften the blow. I learned that not every journey ends in reunion, yet every journey still teaches us the art of waiting. The man 3 seats ahead lowers a newspaper he was pretending to read. He gazes at nothing, eyes unfocused, face smoothed by fatigue that is part physical, part emotional. Folded inside that paper might be job postings, or maybe an unfinished crossword whose clues have grown blurry with worry. But here, in this narrow slice of night, he allows himself a simple surrender to motion, to hush, to the anonymous kindness of distance. Rain thickens, drumming softly on the roof in syncopated patterns. I find myself counting the beats in sets of 4 like a slow heartbeat or the first steps of a waltz. Eventually the numbers fall away and only rhythm remains, guiding my breath to quieter shores. We cross a river broad enough to hold pieces of moonlight between its waves. The reflection trembles as the bridge vibrates beneath us, silver shards dancing and reforming. I lean closer to the glass, forehead touching the cool pane, and imagine casting small wishes onto that rippled surface. Perhaps they would float downstream to the sea, mingling with countless other night-born hopes. The violinist stirs, blinking herself awake. She checks the case, fingers brushing the worn leather as though it were a sleeping pet. Then she smiles, only slightly, only to herself, and slips back into slumber. The smile feels like an answer to an unasked question, a reassurance that beauty is safely tucked beside us for the rest of the ride. Another station slides past, unlit, unnamed. Its benches gleam with rain, empty but ready, like chairs set for a guest who might still arrive. I think of all the preparations we make for possibilities, the tables we lay, the letters we draft, the spare keys we leave under mats. Most of those gestures go unnoticed, yet they shape the quiet architecture of hope. The countryside widens again, a quilt of damp fields stitched with stone walls. Mist pools in the dips and hollows, glowing faintly under the train's passing beams. It looks like breath exhaled by the earth itself, a living sigh that rises, lingers, then drifts away. Merrow's Gate approaches, signpost gleaming in the rain. We slow until the wheels sing a softer pitch, almost a whisper. The platform appears empty at first, then I notice a boy with a red umbrella, small suitcase at his feet. He stands very still, as though balancing on the edge between leaving and arriving. The doors do not open. This is a through stop tonight. Yet the boy lifts his umbrella in a silent salute as we glide by, and for a heartbeat I feel we have exchanged something, courage, perhaps, or simple recognition. When the station fades behind us, the cabin lights dim another shade. Shadows lengthen, edges blur. Words grow shy and retreat to the corners of thought. I sip the last of my lukewarm tea, taste the faint sweetness, decide it is enough. Outside, rain settles back into drizzle, then into the lightest mist, then into nothing at all. The roof goes quiet except for the steady breath of the engine and the sigh of wheels on polished rail. Sleep hovers near, wearing the scent of wet grass and distant violets. I allow my eyes to close, trusting the unseen hands that keep us on course. The hum of motion becomes a cradle, rocking evenly through the dark. In that cradle I place my small regrets, my softer hopes, my whispered goodbyes. All of them sway together, finding their own calm rhythm, until they too fall silent. The countryside outside slips into complete shadow. Inside, a thin thread of amber light remains, just enough to promise morning. I breathe in, breathe out, feel the train curve gently as it carries us farther into night. Somewhere beyond, another signal will flash green, and another until dawn. For now, only the quiet, only the rhythm, only the rain-washed memory of a boy with a red umbrella. And it is enough. Rain resonates with the soft insistence of fingertips on a drum, steady enough to lull, gentle enough to soothe. Droplets gather at the top edge of the glass, then drift downward in slow, uncertain paths, intersecting like chance meetings in a quiet cafe. I lean back, letting the seat cradle my shoulders, and exhale until the window clouds with my breath, a small patch of personal weather. Outside, farmland stretches wide beneath low clouds, the fields a muted tapestry of charcoal and pewter. Every so often a lone tree breaks the horizon, branches lifted like an unanswered question. The train slides on, its hum steady, its motion patient, turning miles into murmurs. Across the aisle a young woman sketches in a spiral notebook. Her pencil moves in light, deliberate strokes, pausing now and then as if listening to the sound of the wheels for guidance. I catch a glimpse of her page, rounded windows, rows of seats, rain-speckled glass. She is drawing the very carriage we share. I wonder if she will add my silhouette, half blurred by mist, or if she prefers her passengers anonymous, undefined, like memories awaiting detail. A faint announcement ripples through the speakers. Approaching Whitford Vale in 20 minutes. The conductor's voice is calm, almost sleepy, folding itself around the syllables. No one stirs. Whitford Vale is merely a name sliding over us like drizzle on the roof. The lights dim a shade, softening the edges of suitcases, coats, and half-empty paper cups. I sip from mine, ginger tea long since cooled, taste a whisper of spice that lingers then fades. Warmth is relative tonight. It comes from small things. Wool sleeves, a remembered laugh, the shared hush of strangers. We glide past a narrow canal. Street lamps cast yellow halos onto the water, breaking into trembling ovals each time rain touches the surface. A solitary narrow boat is moored along the bank, chimney smoking faintly. I imagine its occupant reading by oil lamp, cocooned in wood and brass, believing himself the only voyager awake. If he hears our distant rumble, perhaps he smiles, comforted by company he'll never meet. Further down the carriage, an elderly couple speaks in low whispers. Their heads tilt toward each other, forming an arch of quiet intimacy. I catch snippets. First journey together, still remember the scent of the orchards. Never thought we'd come back this way. Their words glide more surely than the train, each sentence polished by decades of use. The rain shifts, becoming a fine mist, almost a sigh. I rest my palm against the window. Cool glass greets warm skin. Condensation blooms beneath my fingertips, then quickly vanishes. So many moments flicker like that, felt, then gone, leaving only the echo of sensation. We cross a viaduct, stone arches lost in shadow below. Far beneath, a river holds the moon in fractured pieces, silver shards drifting apart and reuniting downstream. The bridge's gentle thrum travels up through the carriage floor, into my shoes, through bone and blood. It feels like a reminder that every support, no matter how old or hidden, keeps carrying weight in silence. Someone yawns, the sound is soft, contagious. My eyes grow heavy, but thoughts float freely, buoyed by rhythm. I recall a childhood wish to fall asleep on a train and wake in a different country, as if borders were only dreams' thin curtains. Tonight, I realize the wish was less about destination and more about waking renewed, remade by uninterrupted motion. The sketching woman flips to a fresh page. She studies the window, then begins outlining raindrops, each tiny oval distinct yet related. Watching her work feels like witnessing a secret ceremony, capturing impermanence, giving shape to what will soon vanish. Perhaps that is all art ever is, a promise to remember the unholdable. Whitford Vale appears across a broad meadow, platform lights casting long golden pencils onto wet gravel. We slow, but not to a stop. This is another glide through, a silent acknowledgement rather than a greeting. A single figure stands beneath the shelter, hands deep in coat pockets, collar turned up. As we pass, he lifts his chin, eyes following carriages as though counting breaths. I meet his gaze for one heartbeat, offer an unseen nod, then he is gone behind a curtain of mist. Inside, the air feels thicker, cozier, as if the absence of new passengers preserves our fragile night world. The conductor drifts by, checking latches, adjusting blinds, leaving in his wake a faint scent of rain-damp wool. He hums a melody I can't quite place, minor key, gentle cadence, something between lullaby and sea shanty. It settles over us like a thin blanket, smoothing any lingering restlessness. My tea is finished, cup empty, I cradle it anyway, liking its weight, its quiet echo of comfort. I glance at my reflection in the dark window, softened features, eyes half lit by overhead amber glow. I look how I feel, unfinished yet content, a sentence trailing off with no need for period. Beyond the tracks, a cluster of cottages appears, chimneys exhaling pale smoke. One window glows a tender blue, television perhaps, or a night light left for a child's easy dreaming. I picture the small rooms inside, kettle on the hob, slippers drying by the hearth, a cat curled on embroidered cushions. These imagined details calm me more than facts ever could. The wheels change pitch, lower, slower, nudging eyelids toward closure. Rain fades to the faintest hush, like pages turning in a distant library. My heartbeat sinks. Lube-dub rail hum, an uncomplicated quartet performing just for me. Sleep hovers, draped in the scent of wet earth and ginger. Before surrendering, I whisper an unformed hope into the dim air. Something about tomorrow, about patience, about gentle persistence. The words dissolve, but their warmth settles near the sternum. I let breath deepen, let shoulders soften, let the window fog once more, this time undisturbed. As the train curves toward another unseen station, night folds closer, thick and forgiving. Droplets continue their timeless crawl down glass, sketches widen on blank pages, old lovers' whispers mingle with the conductor's tune. All around, tomorrow's dreams begin to bloom, quietly, softly, like ink unfurling in water, color without edge, promise without haste. I close my eyes, and the countryside carries me onward, windows fogged, heart light, utterly unafraid of the miles ahead. Rain brushes the roof in gentle swirls, the sound so steady it feels timeless, older than any track we follow. I sit by the window, hands wrapped around a cooling mug of mint tea, and watch the countryside slip past in slow, charcoal silhouettes. The orchard appears first, rows of apple trees standing close and bare, each branch etched against a silver-washed sky. Tiny lanterns hang among them, warm pinpoints of amber cast by some unseen caretaker. They sway in the breeze, glowing like patient stars brought down to earth for the night shift. As we glide alongside, I imagine a farmer walking earlier through wet grass, lighting each lamp with quiet devotion, whispering, "Rest easy, little ones." Perhaps the ritual is as much for him as for the trees, a promise that even in winter, tenderness is worth practicing. The train hum joins the rain, two overlapping lullabies coaxing thought toward softer edges. My reflection merges with the orchard lights, a fleeting ghost among branches, there for a breath, gone with the next curve. Across the aisle, an art student, judging by the charcoal smudges on his knuckles, leans over a sketch pad. His eyes flick from page to window, capturing lanterns in swift arcs of graphite. Every few moments he pauses, thumb rubbing the paper in small circles, blending darkness into dusk. I wonder if he knows those lights will be gone by dawn, or if that impermanence is precisely what he's trying to keep. A soft chime sounds overhead. Next stop, Hollowmere, 25 minutes. The conductor's voice is hushed velvet, slipping between seats without disturbing anyone dreaming. Hollowmere, a name that tastes like quiet water and rounded stone. I picture a village tucked beside a still pond, night herons resting on half-sunken logs, cottages guarding their own pools of lamplight. The carriage lights dim a shade. Velvet shadows drape over luggage racks, over folded coats, over the gentle rise and fall of sleeping shoulders. Somewhere in that hush, a passenger hums a lullaby, just 3 notes repeated, soft as distant bells. The melody interlaces with wheel song until it feels inevitable, like it has always been part of the track. Mist thickens beyond the glass. The orchard fades, replaced by meadows turned to pale ink. Occasional fence posts flick by, brief punctuation marks in the long sentence of this journey. Each one reminds me of moments I once thought insignificant. Waiting in supermarket lines, watching laundry flutter on a clothesline, now cherished like rare coins. Time is generous only in hindsight. Tonight I vow to notice the next ordinary minute before it slips away. A man 2 rows ahead stirs from sleep, checks a watch that glints under the carriage lamp. He smiles, half surprise, half relief, then sinks back, content to let the journey stretch. Perhaps he dreamed of deadlines, but the railway has gently stolen urgency from his pockets. The tracks tell us that forward motion can coexist with unhurried hearts. We cross a small bridge, its steel girders echoing a low, hollow note beneath us. Below, a brook chatters over stones, though I cannot hear it, only see the quicksilver flashes where moonlight surrenders to water. I touch the window, tracing an invisible ripple, and recall skipping stones at age 10, believing each hop a separate wish. Most of those wishes have been forgotten, yet the motion of throwing, arm back, stone forward, still lives in muscle memory, ready for the next quiet shore. Rain eases to a mist so fine it resembles breath. The glass begins to clear, revealing a field where hay bales sit like darkened planets in a drifting universe of fog. A lone fox trots between them, tail a bright ribbon under the carriage lights. Its presence feels like a secret shared only with me, a silent agreement to keep moving through gentle darkness. The art student closes his sketchbook, satisfaction softening his face. He brushes eraser crumbs from his lap, then tucks the pad into an oversized canvas tote. For a heartbeat, our eyes meet. He nods, sleepy but glad, as though we've collaborated on preserving the orchard lamps. In some quiet way, perhaps we have. The speaker murmurs again, approaching Hollowmere, 10 minutes. Rain returns, steady now, writing diagonal lines across the panes. I sip the last of my tea, lukewarm, slightly sweet, and find it tastes like memory settling into the present. Outside, Hollowmere's first signal lamp appears, blinking through mist. The glow spreads in a soft halo, turning droplets into sparks. Swans sleep along the pond's edge, their curved necks mirrored on glass-still water. I glimpse the village church spire, faint and welcoming, then we slow, wheels singing a softer key. But tonight we do not stop, no one requested. The platform slides by, empty save a wooden bench and a bicycle chain neatly beneath the shelter. I picture its owner in some warm kitchen, unaware their quiet companion has just witnessed a midnight train pass in reverent silence. Moments later the village recedes, lanterns shrinking to fireflies, then to memory. Cabin lights dim once more, inviting eyelids to surrender. The fox, the orchard, the sketchbook, all retreat into the stitched quilt of night. My shoulders loosen, breath lengthens, thoughts drift like petals on slow water. I close my eyes, feeling the subtle sway of the carriage, left, right, forward, steady as a cradle. Somewhere beyond the glass, lanterns still flicker, guarding branches that dream of spring blossoms. Their glow lingers behind my eyelids, gentle and quiet, promising renewal without demanding haste. Rain settles into a rhythmic hush, each drop a bead sliding onto an endless thread. The rails answer with their own metallic murmur, and my pulse falls in line. I release the day's last tension, let it pool on the floor, a harmless shadow. Sleep steps forward, barefoot, unannounced, carrying the scent of distant orchards and damp earth. I drift, held by motion, by mist, by small lamps burning in rows of patient trees. Whatever waits beyond dawn can wait a little longer. For now, only the hum, only the rain, only lanterns beyond a sleeping orchard, guiding dreams safely home. Rain hushes the roof in gentle pulses, like waves brushing a moonlit shore. I rest my temple against the cool pane, feeling the vibration of the rails seep through glass and bone. Outside, darkness rolls past in slow tides, hills lifting and folding under drifting mist. A distant farmhouse lamp flares into view, a single amber eye in a sea of charcoal, then sinks behind a hedge before I can wonder who keeps it burning. That fleeting glow leaves a warmth inside me, the way one kind sentence can brighten a whole afternoon. Across the aisle, a man in a linen coat polishes his spectacles with deliberate care. When he slips them on, his shoulders soften, as though clear vision eases some private weight. He opens a slim novel, trace of a smile touching the corner of his mouth. Perhaps he has reached a favorite passage, the one he rereads when cities feel too loud. The wheels sing their steady lullaby, click-shush, knitting together miles of wet track. I breathe to their rhythm, counting 4 slow inhales, 5 slower exhales, watching condensation bloom and fade on the window. We drift through an unlit station, 2 empty benches, a timetable flapping in the breeze. The posts along the platform gleam with rain, silver columns guarding silence. I imagine a night porter once pacing that platform, thermos steaming in gloved hands, memorizing departures that never arrived. A soft chime slides down the carriage. Next stop, Rivershade, 20 minutes. No one stirs. Rivershade sounds less like a town and more like a promise, a place where water keeps secrets under weeping willows. My reflection wavers on the glass, half formed, half erased by the night beyond. I study the outlines, softer now, etched with gentle years and unexpected lessons. Lines near my eyes resemble quiet tributaries feeding into a wider calm. A teenager 2 seats ahead sketches constellations on a phone screen, thumb flicking tiny stars into organized shapes. His companion, headphones on, taps a silent beat on the armrest. Their private universe feels close yet untouchable, like music carried away on wind. Rain shifts, falling sideways, tracing diagonal grace notes down the glass. I remember standing in an autumn storm at 16, refusing an umbrella, believing I could taste change in every drop. That bravado feels distant, but the memory returns soft, without embarrassment, a younger self waving through time. The conductor moves down the aisle, steps nearly weightless, coat smelling faintly of cedar and drizzle. He pauses to tuck a blanket firmer beneath a dozing passenger's chin, then disappears into the next car like a passing thought. Such small courtesies gather, bead by bead, until the whole night shines quietly. Beyond the window, a river eases alongside the track, wide and dark, holding fractured moon skin on its surface. Low reeds bow in the rain, silver tips flickering like candle wicks in wind. For a breath, I imagine casting regrets into that water, watching them drift toward estuary and open sea. The linen coat reader turns another page, sighs with contentment. I catch the faint scent of espresso rising from his thermos. It mingles with damp wool and distant metal. The combination feels like early mornings at train cafes, where strangers trade nods over newspapers. A row of pollard trees flashes by, their trunks pale under carriage light, branches trimmed to crooked crowns. They stand like patient chess pieces awaiting a game that will never start. Even in stillness, they travel with us, silhouettes sliding backward into the dark. I sip cooled chamomile, tasting meadow and honey, letting warmth settle behind my ribs. Each swallow seems to fold another layer of quiet around my thoughts. Worries, packed hastily in the corner of my mind, grow lighter like suitcases left on empty seats. Another announcement whispers, Rivershade in 10. I picture the platform ahead, river fog curling above the tracks, a clock frozen at some forgiving hour. Perhaps one figure waits beneath a lamplight, coat buttoned, eyes searching the horizon for any moving glow. Rain softens, becomes faint drizzle, more silence than sound. The wheels drop half a note lower, inviting eyelids to drift downward. I resist just long enough to memorize this melody of motion, so I may summon it on restless future nights. The teenager pockets his phone, leans against his friend's shoulder. Both drift into synchronized breathing. Their shared stillness reminds me of tidepools at low ebb, quiet surfaces hiding countless, gentle pulses beneath. We glide over a small stone bridge. Beneath, the river widens, gathering scattered light like coins. I see my father's face in that quicksilver surface. He loved night fishing, lines cast where moon paths shimmered. I mentally thank him for teaching patience without ever naming it. River shade emerges through drizzle. A solitary platform, 3 lamps, 1 wooden shelter painted teal. We slow but do not stop. No one slated to leave, none to board. Yet the lamps bow as we pass, honoring the possibility of meeting. I nod back, a silent salute to every arrival postponed but not forgotten. Past the station, fields return, soggy and shining. Round hay bales squat like slumbering planets, each wrapped in black plastic reflecting the carriage glow. A fox streaks between them, rust-colored arrow in silver grass, vanishing before wonder becomes speech. Cabin lights dim once more, shading us in pocket-sized dusk. The linen coat man closes his novel, slips glasses into a felt pouch, exhales long and low. He looks content, as if the ending arrived exactly where it needed to. My own eyes blur. Paragraphs of thought shorten into single, drifting syllables. Hush, tie, safe. The train cradles every sound, every breath, until difference between inside and outside dissolves. I set my empty cup on the tray, feel the gentle click as it settles. Beyond the glass, rain resumes its light tapping, steady as distant surf. I imagine the river we left behind still carrying moon fragments downstream, glinting like quiet promises in its current. Sleep steps forward, wearing shoes made of whispering moss. I welcome it, letting shoulders, jaw, heart unclench. Walls of the carriage expand into shoreline, roof into vast sky, wheels into rolling tide. The night draws a deep, even breath, and so do I. Rain, rails, pulse merge to one unbroken hum, carrying me through the dark inlet between 2 distant towns. A safe channel where dreams drift, buoyed by lanterns of passing farms, guided by steady rhythm, returning with dawn's soft tide. Rain drifts in a hush, softer now than hours ago, a silken rustle against the carriage roof. The lights have dimmed to their faintest glow, pooling honey gold in the aisle while leaving corners wrapped in velvet shadow. I settle deeper into the seat, coat pulled to my chin, and feel the steady breathing pulse of steel wheels on cold rails. We ride through open pasture land where night fog settles like low tide over grass. Fence posts bow from the dark at measured intervals, then slip behind us, each one carrying a spark of lamplight that fades before the next appears. Between those brief flares is pure stillness, a darkness thick enough to feel on the tongue. Directly across, a woman cradles an old pocket watch, thumb tracing the metal rim. She closes her eyes after each sweep of the second hand, as though framing small prayers in exact 10-second segments. Perhaps she waits for a particular minute, an anniversary that will pass unnoticed by the rest of the world but not by her vigilant clock. The train hums lower, gentler, matching the rhythm of slowing breath. Condensation blooms on the window and retreats, a quiet heartbeat of fog. Beyond the glass, a stand of birches flares white in the headlamps, trunks thin as chalk lines on black paper. They vanish again, leaving me with the ghost of their brightness. A soft chime slides from the ceiling speaker, approaching Havenford, through passage only. The conductor's voice carries a lullaby cadence, barely louder than the rain. No one stirs. Havenford will remain a name, a possibility, a missed heartbeat in the sequence of towns we glide past tonight. The woman with the watch opens her eyes, slips the chain into a velvet pouch, and exhales a contented sigh. Whatever moment she guarded has arrived and passed, a small completed orbit. I feel oddly privileged to have witnessed it even in silence. From farther back, someone whispers a joke. Muffled laughter ripples once, then folds into stillness. It reminds me of distant campfires on summer nights, stories tossed into sparks, swallowed by dark trees. The echo carries warmth long after the words disappear. We cross a marsh where cattails sway in shadow, their silhouettes wavering in the train's reflected glow. Water pools between rushes, smooth as black glass, mirroring pinpricks of carriage light. I imagine the marsh holding those reflections until dawn, then releasing them skyward like shy fireflies. My reflection floats on the window, softer than memory, eyes half closed. Lines on my face blur with lines of rain beyond, and I cannot see where one ends and the other begins. It feels right, identity mingling with landscape, the private self dissolving into moving night. A child's voice murmurs in sleep, a half-formed sentence, then a sigh. His guardian adjusts a knitted blanket, tucking edges with practiced tenderness. The blanket is deep indigo, stitched with tiny silver stars, as if someone wanted the boy to hold night close yet stay warm within it. The wheels shift key, a minor drop in pitch that signals a long grade. The train seems to breathe out, easing into gravity's pull with patient grace. I match my inhale to that exhale and feel tension slip down my spine, pooling somewhere harmless on the floor. Pastures yield to woodland. Branches arch overhead like cathedral ribs. Leaves glisten under rain, catching stray light in emerald flashes. Somewhere among them, an owl must be blinking at our sudden arrival of brightness, then swiveling away, unstartled, certain of its place in the dark. A memory surfaces. Standing on a beach at 14, dawn barely hinting on the horizon, my footprints the only marks in wet sand. I thought then that silence was rare and fragile. Tonight I discover it again, abundant and generous, handed freely by miles of track and velvet sky. The conductor appears, steps gentle, cap brim shadowing kind eyes. He pauses by each row, not to check tickets but to be certain every traveler has a blanket, a closed window, a reachable cup. When he nears my seat, he nods once, almost ceremonial, then moves on, leaving behind a faint cedar scent and a sense of blessing. Rain thins to a mist so fine it is heard rather than seen, a whisper of static over distant radio. We pass another empty platform, 3 lamps, a timetable, a painted bench slick with water. For a heartbeat I imagine the bench dry, morning sun slanting across wood, someone waiting with a newspaper folded like new possibilities. Cabin lights dim one last time. Now only emergency strips glow, tracing the aisle in low amber. Faces around me soften into half-lit portraits of calm. The woman with the watch leans back, lips parted in dream. The child's guardian closes her eyes, hand resting on the blanket's star-stitched corner. Outside, the first hint of dawn teases the eastern horizon, a barely perceptible thinning of black into blue-gray. It is the slowest unfolding in the world, yet the train greets it with the patience of long practice. I watch that fragile light bloom pixel by pixel between tree trunks. Sleep drapes over my shoulders like a shawl knit from quiet water and distant cloud. I surrender, trusting the rails to guard my drift. Thoughts unspool into single words. Rain, birch, lantern, home, each one settling like a feather on still water. As my eyes close, I feel the carriage curve, wheels singing a lullaby note that fades into hush. Night and dawn meet somewhere ahead on the track, exchanging a gentle nod before passing one another. I breathe in their changing light, breathe out the final waking sigh, and let the last carriage before dawn carry me effortlessly into dreaming.